I'm Keith, and this is my first track day. Always been into speed. Faster the better. My early days, I had a 69 Mach 1 Mustang that I worked up quite a bit. Did a couple drag races with it. It would run 9.9s in a quarter mile. But after a couple passes, it wasn't really that thrilling. The drive to the racetrack and back again down some twisty roads was more exciting than actually going down a quarter mile. Now mind you, it's a 69 Mustang and they are not known for handling at all. But on every curve, I always catch myself trying to go faster and faster around the corners without losing control. Eventually got married, sold the car. Now not married anymore, started looking for another project. 69 Mustangs nowadays are way out of my price range. So I started looking for something else that might handle better. I did look at some of the Japanese cars and other American cars. Nothing really jumped out at me. And even when I was an auto mechanic and I had some not so nice words to say about BMWs and Mercedes and any other European cars, I did work on them and test drive them, and secretly I had to admit to myself I really loved the way the BMWs were so well balanced between power, brakes, handling, and I never forgot that. A friend of mine pointed out to me this 93 325 IS, really cheap, needed work, and I went and took a look at the car, and he was right, it definitely needed a lot of work. Throw-out bearing was making all kinds of noise, the alternator was making noise, it didn't idle right, had bad vacuum leaks. But I saw a lot of potential in it. Bought the car, and for the last 4 years have been slowly building it up, fixing some of the rust spots that I didn't know were there when I bought it, completely rebuilding and upgrading the suspension, brakes, engine. First setup was I definitely wanted more power out of it. And I've always gone against the grain and done my own thing. Everybody seems to be going the turbo road, and I don't like to follow other people. I want to do something different. There's plenty of centrifugal supercharger kits on the market. So I'm not interested in that either. And I just happened to be looking on eBay at different parts, and I came across the Eaton M90 from a Thunderbird SC that was, I think it was like $300. And I knew they were a small compact supercharger. So I bought it, and I got it delivered to my house, and I popped the hood, moved the air box, and kind of played around with some ideas about how I would mount it. It became very clear that the stock intake manifold, although very good, an M50 manifold, would not fit with the supercharger. Came up with some some other ideas about what I could do and how to fit it in there and make it work right. Well, what happened was I ended up blowing. Oh, the clutch finally went. Throwout bearing came apart. I had to pull the transmission out. While I had that out, I was like, well, good time to put the supercharger on. I had all the brackets already made up. They were pretty rough. Used a plasma cutter and grinder and drill and just did a rough bracket setup and put it on and put the new clutch in, and it ran very well. And eventually started working on the tuning. I was running FIC6 at first, and this was still the stock engine in the car that was untouched. Nobody had ever taken it apart. I bought the car from the original owner. He was a Boy Scout leader that took very good care of the car when it was fairly new, but as it got older and got some scratches and dents in it and stuff, he started using it to take the kids, out in the woods on camping trips and canoeing and the other Boy Scout stuff. So it became an off-road BMW. Not too good for the car, but I guess it served its purpose for him. But when I did the first M90 Eaton Supercharger, and I was involved in the BMW forums, that's when I met this guy, Hyde, who happened to be very much into these superchargers as well, and successfully built an SD14 kit for the BMWs. And we started talking about, what we could possibly do with these. Can we get more out of them? Can we go bigger? What kind of superchargers can we fit on these cars? Strictly sticking with the Roots type or twin screw type setup superchargers, just to come up with an option, and at the same time try to keep the prices down so that everybody can afford it, not just the ones with deep pockets. I was squeezing about 9 pounds of boost out of the M90. The car ran really good. And we came up with the idea, well, what about the M122H? Well, I think we talked about the M112 first. And I said, well, we're going to go that far, we might as well go to the M122H. Besides, the inlet on the supercharger is on the side that we need it to be on, which is away from the engine. And he sent me a supercharger, and we started collaborating back and forth, trying to come up with the best way to mount it. My front mounting bracket that I used on my M90 actually ended up being a good starting point for this. Then trying to come up with a way to mount the throttle body, and use the stock belt routing, and try to keep things as simple as possible. It was not that easy. But I think it's pretty safe to say it's a success. I've got well over 20,000 miles on prototype on my car. Worked flawlessly. back to my need for speed. Definitely having a supercharger on the car did bring up some concerns about the low end torque and would I be able to keep the car on the track. The throttle is kind of touchy, so it does require a lot of control with the throttle. I can't just go around a turn and come out and just punch it to the floor. The car will spin out on me. Even going around the corner, I have to be really light on the throttle. But I've gotten used to it, so it's kind of second nature. Even taking off from a traffic light or something, I can take off very smooth and easy. Typically I'm only using about maybe 10% throttle. I've always wanted to get out on the track. I've watched the videos, I've seen other people doing it, and it just looked like something that would be perfect for me. I love the challenge, I love the turns, the hard accelerating, hard braking, pushing myself and the car to its limit, not just going in a straight line and calling it a day. Going around the track, learning it more and more each lap, trying to come up with faster ways that I can get through certain parts of it. As you see in the video, there are some places I really struggled. You'll see me making a lot of extra corrections. I still have a bad habit of where I put my hands on the steering wheel. I know the proper position, but I'm so used to driving with one hand and only putting both hands on the steering wheel when I get up over 100. So I did struggle with that on the track. I kept trying to remind myself, 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. You have to move one hand because the turn's a little too sharp. Keep your hands in that position. And learning where to downshift and upshift that. You'll see quite a few times I'll upshift to fifth, and I really didn't need to. Or I will sometimes start braking a little too early, and a couple times I did brake a little late. The car did great. The engine ran perfect. I did have some brake fade, and on the long front straightaway going into turn one, by the time I got down to about a little over 130 down to about 80, I started getting a vibration in the front end, like if the rotors were warped a little. It seemed to go away shortly after that. I was running on street radials. I had all four tires sliding evenly around turns when I really pushed it. There was no understeer or oversteer. The car was very well balanced, very predictable. I mean, I could force it to understeer and just yank the steering wheel too hard, or force it to oversteer and stepping on the gas, or even letting off the gas too hard. I knew it can cause the back end to break loose. I was very nervous and excited when I first got there. When we first pulled out, we were following a pace car because I'm in the beginner course. And he said that we had a driver's meeting and then we had a beginner's meeting, and he said he's going to start us out slow and then we're going to build up the speed. His idea of starting out slow was coming out of the pit and taking turn 1 at about 50 miles an hour. I wasn't expecting that. I thought he was going to take us, really slow around the track to, kind of see where everything is. The idea was that we were going to pretty much follow in his tire tracks. But unfortunately, I was quite a few cars back from him, and as a first driver, tried to stay in, exactly where he was on his lines. But if he didn't follow it, the person behind him would end up following him, and eventually, by the time it got back to me, I had no idea where the lines really were. So I had to kind of figure out some of it on my own. I never did actually get to follow the pace car because he was an experienced driver from Skip Barber Driving School. He was fast. He was really good. He knew what he was doing. He did race professionally. And me and him did have some common background as far as I used to race motocross when I was younger. Loved it. He did that as well, and he moved up to off-road truck racing, and then he got into road racing. So that was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. I can't wait to go again. I loved it. It was the most fun I could possibly have. It was a really good guy. It really was. I was nervous about the car. It is 26 years old. Even though I had a lot of reinforcements welded in, and a lot of new parts. I have over 20 years experience as an auto technician, and I know from experience that brand new, top of the line or high performance parts doesn't mean that they're not free of defects. I've been down that road with customers' cars. So I was paying attention to every little sound in the car. Anything that didn't quite sound right. That was the first session on the track. I was really paying attention to the car and a little bit to the track. I started to get more confidence in the car, and the next 3 sessions I started focusing more on the track and on my driving. And yeah, the competitiveness was there the whole time. I really wanted to pass somebody, but we weren't allowed to. I wanted to get right behind them, but the driver's meeting did point out, especially in the beginner class, they don't really want us to get real close to somebody and kind of push them. If they're, they want everybody to drive within, their comfort level. And if somebody's right behind them, kind of pushing them to go faster than what they are comfortable with doing, could force them into a mistake and end up off the track and getting hurt and hurt other people. So I kept that in mind, so that way I would keep my distance from the car in front of me. a few times I had somebody right behind me who was trying to push me, but it's like, alright, well, whatever, buddy. Whatever you were in me, I'm suing your ass. Nah, I wouldn't do that. It was a lot of fun, it really was. Couldn't wait to tell Hyde how it was. He's never been on the track. He's definitely got to do it. Just take your little TI or your 328, whichever, and just go out on the track. I'm telling you, man, there ain't nothing like it. I've done some street racing over the years, but this is a whole different experience. And it's a lot safer. I learned so much from not just the instructors. I did have a couple of instructors there that I, asked some questions of, but some of the veteran track day participants, giving me some pointers on how to take certain sections and what to expect, or try to expect anyway. I'm Keith, and this is my first track day.